this window of opportunity, because of how the marketing ploy and the deception in this world is, it does not last simply because there is, at very few times on this earth and other planets and in the physical realm, is there an individual or individuals that have the courage to step up and present something real because of how suppressed everything is. The powers that be here, the manipulated individuals and powers and systems, they don't want this to exist because then they lose control, and they themselves project fear because they themselves are afraid. And they don't have to be, but they've trapped themselves, so they make other people afraid too, and they create fear-based systems. All the systems of the earth, political, religious, spiritual, educational, scientific, they're all based on fear. It's a hidden factor in all of them. And so again, did the Indians create any of these systems? Did they have governments and presidents and rules and regulations, constitutions? No. These things are based on fear. It's a starting point, but it is not the end result, and is not the ultimate. And as many people think God is the ultimate, etc., well, guess what? Life is bigger than the gods of man. It really is. And anyone can meet these so-called gods, and you will see them for what they are. They're kind of like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, is what they really, really are. And so I know that most people are very emotional attached to these ideas. Well, it comes to a point where it's a real wake-up call. You wake up to real freedom, or you stay with the implied freedoms and you stay trapped here. It's a decision each person makes. So that's a little brief outline of what I wanted to present today. I suggest people also read my books. They're free online everywhere. Just look up Duane, the Great Writer, and decide for yourself and test it. And all of a sudden you'll see that things are happening within yourself. And just take the risk, kind of like a test pilot. You wonder if the plane will fly or not, but guess what? You're the pilot. You decide if it's going to fly or not. It's all up to you. It's not about what I'm creating. I'm just creating a presentation. What I've created is not sacred or special. What it is simply a very good reference to what is possible for anyone to experience for themselves. All I can do is hint at the position. It cannot be given to you. So it's like a cookbook with all these recipes in it, but you got to make the meal and you got to eat it. The meal is not in the book, just the hint is. And so this is the Adventurous series. There's 8 books, and I've written, we have a lot of groups, I think over 500 or 600 on Facebook right now with different references, and the books are available there. I suggest starting off with Book 2, which is A Journey to Real Freedom, and then Book 6, Your Dream Visions. Those will give you a huge amount of knowledge and reference, along with the new youth sessions. You will succeed if you continue on with yourself to better understand what's going on in this world, and with yourself and your real awareness on the real side, and that which is termed dreams, which are actually other levels and dimensions that you're experiencing all the time, but you're simply not recognizing what is taking place. But eventually you will, and that's the best part, to free yourself altogether. And with that, I'll conclude for now. And is everybody still there?
Yes. Thank you, Duane, for exposing all of that. Do you want to take a caller, or do you want to go on? Does Ava have something to share, or what would you like to do?
It's whatever. We have a caller?
We have several.
Oh, really? So we've stirred up the nest out there.
Well, they're known. They're.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't call them regulars, but they're known to us. We know them. We have Dimitri. Maybe.
Okay, go ahead. You guys go ahead. Whoever wants to talk or whatever, go ahead. I'll listen. Go ahead.
Oh, hello, everyone. We're all blown away by your talk, Duane. That was really good.
Well, I'm glad somebody listened, because, yes, you kids are great. You kids have a lot of experience, too. Go ahead and share something, whatever you like. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, what I have to share is really, it works. This is all I have to share. You just read these books, and you you practice it, you do these sessions, and it changes you. It's very deep, and it is really wonderful.
Okay, thanks for sharing. Val, do you have something?
Yeah, in terms of, in regards to the position that Duane has, the new wave, what used to be called the Mahanta, I was going back to some of the old YouTube videos and watching Darwin and a young Harold try to explain their position, or their pretended position of being the Mahanta. Whatever position they had was just very interesting about what words they used and how they were actually very real in terms of trying to explain it to people. One was Darwin with a host, a regular host that hosts different religions and people in religions, and it just and I use it as a comparison, watching that and then listening to Duane, and the difference is what a lot of times we use as or the comparison we use as a means of like understanding or gaining awareness, and it's just, what a difference. I mean, what Duane has defined it so much more clearly, and the view is so much more expanded than what these other fellows are trying to portray, and that's one reason is because they don't see it. I mean, that's the obvious thing. They don't. If they don't see it, how can you explain it or present it or share it? But the difference, I mean, the clips I saw were 70s, I guess 80s, and these were young. They were just getting into their position, and I can see how difficult it was for them. I mean, I'm just my viewpoint. I don't know if it's difficult, but it's, in a way, it is the communication part of relaying these invisible sort of realities or awarenesses. It's a challenge, and but I'm reminded of one of Paul's quotes, and that was like, this position, the new way position. It's they're so frank. People in it are so frank that it's hard for people to believe, because it's so frank. You can use the word real, but it's just so it's so right there. It's so obvious in a way that people are so conditioned to believe in things and ideas and feelings and attitudes and things like that it's hard for them to even recognize it. So again, the comparisons is always a good way to come at these things sometimes. What's real, what's not, what makes sense, what doesn't. So so I just that's my share. I wanted to share that.
Thank you, Val. Val, you have been, like myself, early 70s. You were with the corporation, and you saw the difference taking place over these years, because you were there almost 40 years or so, and that's a long time. And there's still people that have been there 40, 45 years and even more, and they have so-called prominent positions, and I understand. They don't want to let those go. They have a certain recognition there, a certain affiliation, but what they don't see is what's really taking place on the real side and all the deception. And unfortunately, we have this today. I'm not labeling this as good or bad or whatever. These are choices. These are simply choices. I never mention morals. I never mention what is right or wrong. And I don't compare myself to Paul or the Mahanta idea, which some people do. Each position is its own. That's just very, very real. In the physical sense, we do have this labelization. We do have this literalization, which is fine. That's a point. But it's just a reference is all it is. It's just a reference. And so my position on the real side, I don't see myself as anything but a being of light like everybody else. That's just what I see. And I like that. It's a freedom for me not to establish an idea here like Darwin and Harold and many other people do in their minds thinking, well, I'm this, or I'm the president, or I'm the master, and I'm the Pope, whatever, and I'm very special, and people are to look up to me. No, I don't carry those ideas because I've learned through my experience that it's all worthless. And the titles are worthless. I just use Duane the Great Writer or the New Wave is the New Man for someone to relate to, but realistically, I put everybody before myself. That's why I never created the membership. What I do is I educate you and others and those that are willing for all of us to stand with each other and share whatever position we have and have fun on this adventure, creating something that works for everyone. That's the whole idea. There's no master-student idea anymore. It's really become master and slave, just like the old days. It worked for a while, respectfully, but it's not working. And that's the proof is in the pudding, you might say. It's not working. It's not working anymore. And so if people don't want to see that, that's their choice, but it's so easy to see. And you recently stepping up here with us, and it didn't take you long to recognize what's going on because you'd been through this, and now you see yourself. You want to tell a little bit about that, these other things, they're not working anymore. They haven't been for the longest time.
No, I didn't see it until I saw the comparison. When I was going along, like in my happy-go-lucky la-la land in Ekankar, but then I saw a friend of mine introduce me to you, and it was in the comparison that it was just, and to me it was just obvious that there was a more expanded view here than I was seeing, and I was being, whether it was good or bad, I didn't really have. At that time, when I was introduced to this, I didn't have a judgment, but it was obvious to me that there was much more. I mean, not just a little bit more, but within me there was so much more that I found out about that I wasn't getting in the other system. And this is not a system, but it's just the view just instantly expanded, and every day even more so. It's an adventure.
Yes, and your friend Lila, who finally stepped up here, and Lila's in her 90s. She's a sweetheart, and after a while there, in a short time, she had this great experience on the real side, showing her what's taking place, and she was exposed to the is itself, and like many of the experiences we have on the Skypes, we don't release all those to the public, but some of them we do. People are working with Rebazar and the boys on the real side, and they're showing people the tap lining that's taking place with Ekankar and all the religions of the world, all that's taking place here. Is the world is so infected, just like it's poisoned. Just like everything is poisoned in the world, it's all infected. And we're not saying we're the good guys, but we're very sincere and real, and we're direct with the true reality to clean all this stuff up, clean up the tap lining. When people are willing to earn their way out of what they have agreed to, the tap lining that will be taken care of. Just like Ava and many, many others. There's another gal in Singapore that we know, started doing the New You. She had all kinds of problems, physical problems, and when she started doing that, all of a sudden it started to break loose very, very fast. And so these things worked at a certain time when I was in the corporation. With Paul's time, the HU, the Hugh word did work. but it became so saturated, Darwin started to take it downhill, and then Harold and Joni, and as Joni came in, she totally infected the whole system of things, and so the ALLLIS and the real guides threw it out. It still does work to a certain point, but it's in the lower astral realm, and those people that, carry Harry's picture around or the president or whatever, they're going to be tap-line and stuck there too. I see where Harry's at. I see where Harold's at, and he's very, very trapped in dark places, kind of like in that Sigourney movie, Aliens 1, where they go to the planet and it doesn't look very good. And so again, there's lower parts of the astral realm there. They can disguise themselves pretty well to people on the real side, but eventually it's all showing up. We have thousands of people all over the world having experiences now, and they are seeing this, what is taking place with the systems of the world, those that were in the corporation. They're seeing this. They're seeing the tap lining. It's all becoming exposed because people are waking up and they're becoming more aware. And life is the great adventure. You have to be the risk taker. You really do. It's about, learning to see what else there is and not being really self-satisfied. This is where people come to Earth and they think, well, gee, I'll just make my home here. But the Earth is a dangerous place. And, it's almost like it doesn't matter how dangerous it gets, people are still wanting to make their home here, thinking that, the powers that be that are creating all the deception and the destruction purposely to eliminate most of the population are going to fix things, or that Jesus is going to come back, or God will. No, these are ideas that have been marketed to people. Each person must decide to recognize themselves, and you might say save their own life. This is the only way that it works. It doesn't work any other way. Because each person, once they recognize who they are, because all life is here and now, it can't be anything else, then they're okay. But it's a huge journey. They must take the risk to see more than just their outer physical self. And so, yes, the comparison is very important, to have that instead of just the idea of, you must believe this, or you must, bow and kneel, etc., and believe, or you're not a believer, so things aren't happening for you. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with really figuring it out. You must figure yourself out. And I don't use the word problem. Paul did a lot, and one of the statements that Rebazar made to Paul and I in the younger days, because I was there in Book 3, which I call Book 3, the real far country, the far country. I was there too, but it wasn't known at that time. And Rebazar made the statement, you are your own problem. And that's very real. That really encompasses all of it. And so you can be in your la-la land here. You can emotionally think everything's okay, fine. You have that right. But eventually, everything shows up. All deception shows up. It really does. You throw something in the river, it shows up downstream, doesn't it? And as people and these industries, these businesses, which are made up of people in agreement, pollute the rivers, eventually it all shows up. And so does all deception, because that's just how it is. Creation faces itself. And so as the individual surpasses creation and recognizes the is, like the sun shining, it's a pure position without restriction. And what Paul called it as the cause, and here we have cause and effect. Karma is a little hard to understand for most people. They think it's a belief. But it's simply cause and effect. Everything here is cause and effect in creation. This is like the big sandbox that life created for us to go through the process, like a butterfly, is first. The caterpillar goes through the metamorphosis of the cocoon and eventually becomes the butterfly. And this is what we're doing in creation. At first, we're the body on the ground here, scratching to survive. And then we go through the transformation of recognizing more, and eventually we become the butterfly, and we recognize ourselves. So it's just very real, very simple, very wonderful, and if you can see it, you can be it. But you must learn to be it. It's not something like a membership to where you just join something and it's all taken care of for you. It's like, oh, the master will take care of it. He protects me. I just go off to my job and, sell GMO hamburgers to everybody, make a lot of money, and I'm fine because the master is protecting me. No, there's a bigger picture than that. It's waking up to everything that's going on, seeing, everything that's taking place. And this is what Paul and Revizar referred to. The idea was nothing is taken for granted, and that means nothing. But in the human sense, most people take everything for granted, thinking this or thinking that, and liking the ideas that they create and thinking, oh, this is this and this is that. It's a thinking mode about putting their attention on ideas that they want to work so that their personal life is all taken care of, because that's more important, and their so-called membership or joining or their adventure with this is secondary. I've taught a lot of people since 1970, 45 years, and I have seen them come and go. And most of them take a little bit here or there, and they take the knowledge thinking that, oh, I know this now, and especially in this day and age where, oh, I know what Duane is presenting, so I get the basic idea. But no, they don't see it at all. Not at all. And anything that you decide, there's always more and there's always so much more that is not seen. And so only certain individuals will explore this and make it their lifestyle, a total reality of their beingness. And this can be experienced on the real side, and this becomes the difference, especially with those who are having the real side experiences with the real guides and myself and Ava, etc. The real intent of the individual is exposed on the real side. But most people, if they're afraid to look at it, then what they're doing is that they're holding up the front of deception, wanting it to be a particular way, pretending that it's okay, because it really looks good. And they can do that for as long as they want, and life will not take it away.